Hi, I'm Linda, I say, taking a sip of coffee, a 40-year-old self-made woman. Growing up, I always knew I wasn't the favorite in the family. My younger brother John was the star in my parents' eyes from the start. They doted on him, gave him everything he wanted, while I felt more like a guest in our home than their daughter. I glance at Maggie, my best friend, who sits across from me at the kitchen table. I remember one Christmas, John got the latest gaming console and I got a sweater. I laughed bitterly. It was like they didn't even see me. Maggie frowns, her voice soft. That's so unfair, Linda. It must have been hard, feeling invisible. It was, I say, my eyes drifting to the quiet street outside. That's why I left as soon as I turned 18. I knew I had to build something for myself. And I did. I smile, remembering the years of hard work. Every paycheck, every promotion, I saved and climbed my way up. This house, I gesture around, it's modest, but it's mine. It's proof I can stand on my own. Meanwhile, John's life couldn't be more different. Despite all the coddling, he dropped out of college, drifted from one failed venture to another. Now, jobless and with children from different partners, he's moved back in with our parents, relying on their constant bailouts. Maggie shakes her head, a mix of sympathy and frustration on her face. Let me guess, they're still making excuses for him. Exactly, I sigh, the familiar bitterness rising in my chest. It's always about how John needs more help, more chances. They never stop to think that maybe it's their endless rescuing that's kept him from growing up. Our conversation is interrupted by the ringing of my phone. I glance at the screen. It's Mom. I brace myself before answering, already knowing what this call is about. Linda, we need to talk about John. Mom begins, her voice tense. He's gotten himself into trouble with child support. He owes over $3,000, and if he doesn't pay, he could go to jail. And you're calling me because I ask, though I already know the answer. We need your help, Linda, she pleads. We've done everything we can, but we're out of options. I feel that old pang of resentment. So you want money. It's not just money, Mom counters, desperation creeping into her voice. It's your brother's freedom. I take a deep breath, the weight of years of being second best pressing down on me. Mom, I've worked hard for everything I have. John has never had to struggle because you've always cleaned up his messes. There's a heavy pause, thick with unspoken accusations and disappointments. Are you really going to let your brother go to jail? Mom asks, her voice a mix of guilt-tripping and hope. I'm sorry, Mom, but I can't. I won't. My decision is clear, my voice firm. John needs to face the consequences of his actions. I have my own life, my own responsibilities. The call ends with a strained goodbye, leaving me with a swirl of emotions, anger, relief, and most of all, a sense of peace for finally standing my ground. Maggie reaches over, squeezing my hand in silent support. You did the right thing, Linda, she says. It's time they realize you're not their emergency fund. I nod, grateful for her understanding. It's just hard, you know. I know, she replies, her smile warm and reassuring. But you're doing what's best for you, and that's what matters. Not long after the phone call, there's a knock at my door. When I open it, I'm met with the tense faces of my parents. I let them in, knowing this isn't going to be a casual visit. Linda, we wouldn't ask if it weren't serious. Dad begins, his tone grave. John could go to jail. I cross my arms and lean against the wall. And how is that my problem, Dad? Why is it always me who has to fix things? You're his sister, Mom cuts in sharply. Family helps family. I let out a bitter laugh. Family helps family? That's rich coming from you. Where was that help when I needed support? Mom's eyes narrow. We did everything we could for you. Really? I challenge, my voice rising. Because all I remember is being sidelined the moment John was born. The air thickens with old grievances as Dad tries to mediate. Let's not rehash the past. We're talking about now. John needs help. And what about what I need? I counter, my frustration growing. I've been saving that money to pay off my house for my future, something I've built on my own. Dad's voice softens. We know you've worked hard, Linda. We're proud of you, but your brother. Stop, I interrupt, anger surging. It's always about John. What about me? Don't I deserve to feel secure in my own life? You're being selfish, Mom accuses, and the sting of her words cuts deeper than I expected. After all we've done for you. All you've done? I snap. You mean ignoring me unless it was convenient? You've never once considered what I might need. The conversation escalates quickly, voices rising, emotions raw. You want me to bail him out? Just hand over the money I've worked years for. No, I won't do it. We're still your family, Linda, Dad says, disappointment etched in his face. How can you turn your back on us? I stare at them, my heart pounding. How many times did you turn your back on me when I needed you? Where were you? Mom's eyes fill with tears. We came here hoping you'd understand the gravity of the situation. John is your brother. And I am your daughter, I reply sharply. But that never seemed to matter much unless it was convenient for you, I added, my voice heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. A painful silence followed, thick with the tension of everything that had gone unsaid for years. Finally, Dad broke the quiet, his voice low and measured. So you won't help? I can't. I won't, I reply, standing firm. I have my own life to think about. It's time John learns to deal with his own problems. Mom's eyes flash with a mix of disbelief and anger. You'll regret this, Linda. You're choosing money over your own family. It's not about the money. It's about respect. Something I've never really gotten from you. This is where I draw the line. After my parents left, the house felt eerily silent, like the calm after a storm. But I knew this quiet wouldn't last. The real tempest, the gossip, the family opinions, was still brewing. It didn't take long for the news of our confrontation to ripple through the family. Calls and messages started flooding in, each one reminding me of the divide my decision had caused. Some relatives were quick to criticize, echoing my parents' disappointment. How could you refuse to help your own brother? One aunt scolded over the phone, her words sharp and laced with judgment, meant to guilt me into reconsidering. But amid the disapproval, there were also voices of support. Maggie, ever steadfast, rallied our circle of friends. You did what was right for you, Linda. Don't let anyone make you doubt that, she reassured me during one of our late-night chats. Then there was my cousin Lucas, a distant relative who had always seemed to understand the family dynamics better than most. One evening, I received a text from him. I heard what happened. It's about time someone stood up to them. His support was unexpected, but welcome. A reminder that I wasn't alone in recognizing the toxic patterns that had plagued our family for years. As the days turned into weeks, the initial barrage of calls and messages began to wane, but the tension within the family lingered. I attended a family gathering knowing well the kind of reception I might face. Walking into the room felt like stepping onto a battlefield. Eyes tracked my every move, and whispers barely concealed themselves throughout the event. Lucas stayed by my side, his presence a quiet pillar of strength. You're handling this better than most would, he mentioned as we stood off to the side, away from the crowd. I have to, I replied, for my own peace. In the weeks following the family gathering, I focused on building a healthier, more balanced life. I knew that maintaining the boundaries I had set with my family would be crucial, not just for my peace of mind, but for my own growth. I started therapy, a decision sparked by the resurfacing feelings of guilt and abandonment after the confrontation with my parents. Sitting in a therapist's office, I opened up about my childhood, the favoritism, the neglect, and how it had shaped my relationships. It sounds like you've always been the responsible one, the one who had to take care of herself, my therapist noted, her voice gentle but probing. That's exactly it, I said, the realization dawning on me. And when I finally said no, it felt like I was breaking some unspoken family rule. We often internalize these roles, she explained, but breaking free from them can lead to significant personal growth. Her words were empowering, helping me understand that my worth wasn't tied to how much I sacrificed for others, especially when those sacrifices were never reciprocated. Meanwhile, John's situation worsened. Without my financial help, my parents, desperate to protect him from the consequences of their lifelong enabling, scrambled for alternatives. They tried setting up fundraisers, reached out to distant relatives, and even considered taking out loans. I heard about their struggles through Lucas, who kept in touch regularly. They're really doing everything they can to avoid letting John face the real consequences, he said during one of our calls. One afternoon, I met Maggie for lunch at a cozy cafe, a small haven from the bustling city. We talked about everything from work to personal growth. But inevitably, the conversation turned back to my family. You seem different, Jess, Maggie observed, her eyes thoughtful. more at peace. Maybe, I smiled, feeling the truth of her words. I am. It's been tough, but setting these boundaries has been one of the best decisions I've ever made. I'm finally prioritizing myself. That's wonderful to hear, Maggie said, her smile wide and genuine. You deserve this peace, Jess. You've earned it. Months have passed since I firmly established boundaries with my family, and life has gradually settled into a new, healthier rhythm. I took a significant step towards securing my future by legally documenting my decision not to be financially responsible for my parents or John. This wasn't just about protecting my assets, it was a statement of independence and a commitment to prioritizing my own well-being. Despite these safeguards, news of John's ongoing struggles and my parents' worsening financial and health issues still made its way to me, mostly through Lucas, who remained my connection to the family dynamics without pulling me back into old, unhealthy patterns. One evening, I hosted a small gathering at my home. The room was filled with warmth and laughter, a stark contrast to the family gatherings I used to dread. Surrounded by the friends and allies who had supported me through my hardest moments, I felt immense gratitude. Maggie, ever the supportive friend, raised her glass during a toast. To Linda, for showing us the strength it takes to choose oneself, even when it's hard. The room echoed with cheers, and I felt a surge of pride. These people, my chosen family, understood my journey, respected my decisions, and celebrated my victories as their own. They had been there through the setbacks and challenges, offering comfort and solidarity. As the evening wound down, I found myself at my favorite spot by the window, gazing out at the city lights. The peaceful night offered the perfect backdrop for reflection. I thought about the boundaries I had set and the sense of peace they had brought into my life. It's true what they say, sometimes the hardest boundaries to establish are the ones that ultimately set us free. This realization wasn't an ending, but a beginning. A new chapter in which I could live authentically and unapologetically, prioritizing my well-being and happiness. My relationship with my family might remain strained, but I had found a way to thrive outside the constraints of those old dynamics. As I turned from the window, I felt a quiet triumph swell in my heart. This wasn't just my new normal. It was a hard-earned victory, a testament to the resilience and determination that had guided me through the darkest times. The story of Linda comes to a close. One of overcoming and setting boundaries that we hope resonates with many of you. Now we'd love to hear from you. Do you believe family obligations should always take precedence over personal well-being? Or is it sometimes necessary to put yourself first in order to truly help others? It's a deeply personal and often controversial topic, so please feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below.